So this is the most important lesson that I've learned in chiropractic. Number one, bones do not go out of alignment. There isn't a bone that's in alignment and now it's out, and then we snap it back in alignment. That is not what happens. The only people we tell that to are kindergartners, and we tell it to people on YouTube because, quite frankly, it's just easy to understand. So the most important thing that I have learned in chiropractic is to get a proper tissue-specific diagnosis. And what do I mean by that? When you just look at the spine, and this works for the extremities as well, you want to know, does the person have a muscle problem, a joint problem, a lack of movement problem, a tendon problem, a ligament problem, a fascia problem? Once I started diagnosing patients' conditions based on tissue diagnosis, my success rate just began to soar. So let me tell you what I mean by this. The first thing I do when I see a patient is I look at their posture, looking for any type of structural abnormalities. But that doesn't mean that if their head is over here, I'm going to push it that way. Posture is giving us an idea of how our body has adapted to the actual problems. Bad posture is not the problem. Bad posture is a reaction to tissue problems. Now, of course, you have to start somewhere. So when I look at someone's spine, I am going to analyze joint motion. So this is the back of their head. I will have them flex forward, flex backwards, bend to the side. So I'll have them go through certain ranges of motion, analyzing where they feel the pain. If a person feels pain on this side when they bend that way, that's totally different than if they feel pain on this side when they bend that way. Be patient, because I'm going to tell you exactly what this means. When I analyze joint motion, I put my finger on the joints and I press and I have them move their spine. This is called motion palpation, is I'm analyzing joint capsule flexibility, or the ability to have what's called joint play. All joints have a joint play. It's a movement that's involuntary that tells you whether the joint capsule or ligaments that surround the joint are healthy enough to allow certain motions. This is the first thing that has to occur before everything else changes. If I find it, I fix it through an adjustment. But if I don't find it, I go to the next level. And what I'm doing now is I'm analyzing muscles. And since we know which muscles are attached to the spine in which different direction, I can figure out which muscles are the culprit. So let's get back to the example where a person bends to the left. If they're bending to the left and they feel pain on the left, very often that's a joint motion or joint capsule, because no muscles are really being stretched at that point. Whereas if a person feels it on this side and that limits the range of motion, then we're talking about a muscular restriction or possibly a ligament. I'll tell you how that is in pretty soon. But let's stay with muscles. I know the direction of certain muscles like the trapezius, the levator scapula, the scalenes. So if I have a patient bend to the left and I have them bend forward, which is more levator, and they say, hey, that limits my range of motion, or I could visually see it limits their range of motion, boom, I know it's the levator scapula. If I have them bend backwards and have them turn and move the motion to stress the scalenes, and that limits their range of motion, boom, we're getting somewhere. Now I know exactly what muscle it is. In that case, it's the scalene. Now, as far as diagnosing ligaments, you have to stress the ligaments in order to see if they are a culprit in pain. So in this same example where a person bends to the left and they feel a strain on this side, how do I know if it's the ligaments? What I'll do is I will have them lie down and I will press on the vertebrae to stretch the ligaments on this side without stretching the muscle. If there's pain and limitation, we know it's the ligament. If there's no pain and limitation, but there's pain and limitation with the muscle, we know it's the muscle. And that's exactly how I decipher the culprit of the pain and the tissue-specific diagnosis. This is how I'm able to know, is it a joint, is it a ligament, is it a muscle? Now, if it's nerve tissue, then very often a person will get burning, tingling, numbness, achiness down the extremity in a predictable way. This is where you need to know anatomy. So if you know that the person gets numbness along their little finger, that's totally different than if they get the numbness along their thumb. So I will compress the nerve at the site and know if the person is getting problems either by checking the reflexes or sensory. So if a person bends to the left and they get numbness along the little finger, I know that's coming from lower down in the cervical spine. If it's numbness along the thumb or maybe the deltoid or the forearm, I know that's higher up on the spine. In that case, I know the person has a pinched nerve. With fascia, you need to really know the anatomy and how all the muscles are interconnected and how the fascia works. So if I have a person who bends their neck forward and doesn't feel it in the neck, but feels it in the lower back, then I know there's a fascial problem. Once you learn these, what are called anatomy trains, where one area is connected to another, connected to another, connected to another, as you pull on one, very often you'll get a strain along the whole side. And when I talk to patients about this, usually I will use an example like the shirt. If I take my shirt and I start pulling in this direction really hard, I can pull it hard enough to where my whole shirt will move this way and it'll choke me out right here on this side. Now the pain is right here, but the actual pulling sensation is here. No matter how much you treat the neck, you have to release the tissue there. That's how fascia works. And this is one of the most important lessons I ever learned in chiropractic. Are you tired of tossing and turning all night, never getting a good night's rest? Well, you're not alone. Over 70 million Americans suffer from insomnia. That's why my friends from Bioptimizers.
You don't have any friends.
They have some great news for you. They have created Sleep Breakthrough, the ultimate solution to consistently getting your best night's sleep. Sleep Breakthrough is the first fully optimized, delicious sleep drink designed to help you fall asleep in minutes, experience deep, high-quality sleep, and wake up feeling refreshed and energized every morning. Visit sleepbreakthrough.com/story to learn more and order now. In addition to the discount you get by using promo code STORY10, for selected orders you will receive a pair of blue light blocking glasses and other special gifts.
A puppy?
No, not a puppy.
Aww.
This is a limited time offer, so don't wait. Go now to sleepbreakthrough.com/story.